maybe 40 or 50 years ago, we didn't know anything about these problems. So when you and me started to use a computer, we know we meet with a new problems. So this is the quote said by Bill Gates, the owner of Microsoft. Okay, welcome again to all the people or students here connected. Welcome to this class, and I explain slowly. Somebody of you asked me and send me some mails asking about why I am not talking speaking in Spanish, and I write to you. I type to you that it's not my decision; it's an university decision. So I'm doing my best to speak with you in English. Please do your best to understand and listening to this class in English, please. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's start talking about the word processors. Let's talk about some history about the word processor. What do you see in your screen? What are you watching now? I put a man there. He's analyzing, he's watching. This is a cartoon, and he's watching the history. What about the history of word processors? So the first word processor was a typewriter. A typewriter. What's a typewriter? Maybe you don't know what's a typewriter because you work maybe in the high school, maybe when you was starting to study in the school, you work with computers. But before the computers that we know today, first we used to work in a typewriter. This typewriter was a mechanical machine. This mechanical machine work very well with papers, will work very well printing the keys that you press. And if you make some mistake, for example, in these mechanical machines, you need to start again working with your document. So it was very, very hard to repeat a document. Maybe if you make mistakes. For example, in at the beginning of the 19th century, you can watch there a little picture about the first typewriter. In the 40s, 1940, IBM invented the first typewriter, that offers more options, more functions, but always in mechanical functions. But you can use photocopies maybe because you can use carbon paper and you obtain a second copy uh, when you use the typewriter. But later in the 70s, appear in the world, all the world appear the first electronic typewriter. This electronic typewriter work with electrician. You connect the first time for first time the typewriter, and you can press the keyboard like you watch in the 70s, and you can save some documents, save maybe some letters, save some documents, and you can open these documents if you need. It was the principal function of an electronic typewriter. But in the 80s, down, you can watch the first personal computer. This first personal computer invented by IBM, the PC, the personal computer, was working very well because they use an operating system. They use word processor, the first word processors, where you could work with documents with the main functions like save a document, center a line, for example, work with a lot of pages, open documents that you made maybe 1 week ago, and the another choices that you you or maybe your parents, your relatives had with these computers were that they could print documents in in the personal computer. They appear the first printers, so you could work in a computer and later you could print your documents. It was the principal function of PC, personal computer. But what about 40 or 30 years later? So I'm talking about this year, for example. What can we do today? Today we have, for example, laptops like the picture. Today we have printers that connect with the computers on the way Wi-Fi. For example, you can order in your computer, Control P, and send your document in Wi-Fi, and you obtain the print. You obtain a paper, and this is what we are using today. So you can read in green, in excuse me, in yellow, found in black um, letters that have been around for a very long time. The history registered that from the typewriter we today have the laptops who work Wi-Fi. So it's a big step that the word processor have done. So we have today the change to work in a word processor using, for example, some choices. What choices? I want to talk with you about maybe a little some history. For example, when the first computers appeared in the 90s, for example, I was studying, I remember the high school, and I remember that I was using the professional right. It was a big software that helped to me to do and to make some documents. I was studying using this software, professional right. I remember that I had my own diskettes. We work with diskettes. Maybe you don't know what is a diskette. You only know the CD, maybe. But we were working in that year in the 90s, maybe 1995, 94. We were working with this software like Professional Write, software like WordPerfect. You can see, for example, there some examples about this software. We were working too with Microsoft Works. This work in a DOS operating system. It works very well because we could edit some documents, we could write some documents, some letters, make a lot of investigations, but we could not, for example, to change the fonts. We could not to change the size of the fonts because it was not the function of this word processors, but they could work with tables, for example, with squares. With you could do something like the documents in that moment could to use. For example, the lawyers for a lot of years use professional right, for example, the lawyers who do and who write a lot of documents in their office. Maybe they in the 90s, at the beginning of this century, they were working with WordPerfect, with Works, or maybe with professional, right? It or these were the first word processors who you and me could work in the 90s in a personal computer. But what happened today? What happened today when you work in the computer? We don't use anymore this software that you are watching now. This software is only history. Maybe you can install this in your computer, but today you and me don't use anymore. But what choices, what options we have today? For example, I want to talk about with you, because we are talking about the word processors, for example, about free software. If you used to write something, maybe you have a notebook, please write free software. What's a free software? What's free software? Free software is the software and the programs, the packages that you can download from the internet and install in your computer and use it and use them without to pay any amount. You don't need to pay any invoice. You don't need to use your credit card because it's is totally free. It's free because they want to be the software free, so they give us this software like a gift, and you can download or maybe work it online, or you can install in the hard disk, for example. We have the Open Office, it's free. We have LibreOffice, that's the name. We work, for example, Easy Office, Free Office, Soho Docs, Only Office. We can work with WPS Office, Atomic Scriber, and the most known software is Google Docs. For example, Google Docs is a free software because you can use in your computer. You can use with if you have, for example, an Gmail account. You can use Google Docs totally free. You don't need to pay any quetzales. You don't need to pay any amount of dollars, of pesos. Why? Because these word processors are totally free, and this is open software. Open software is the correct name. Open software, free software. Maybe you can work very well your thesis, you can work your investigation, your documents, make some data sheets, make some presentations, a lot of functions you can do in this software. So I repeat for you, all that you are watching now in your screen is free software. You don't need money to work with these programs. But what else we have? We have, in another hand, for example, we have another choices. These choices, we need to pay money, and you need to use your credit card to buy this software. What software? For example, Corel Word Perfect. You need money to buy Office or Microsoft Office, for example, Microsoft Word. All software from Microsoft, you need money to buy them. If you don't have money, you cannot work Microsoft Office. For example, if you don't have, for example, Windows, you can work in a Mac computer, but Microsoft offers two Office for Mac, but you need to have a lot of money. I don't know, maybe the package, the software for Windows or Mac cost costs maybe 1,400 quetzales, maybe. That's the amount that you need to pay for this software. Another option that we have today is to work with Office 385, the orange font that you can watch in your screen. Office 385. What about this office? You can work this office online, 100% online, and you pay less money if you work online. For example, you need to pay 400 quetzales maybe for this office. But if you need to install Microsoft Office, for example, in your hard disk, in your local computer, you need to pay some quetzales, like 1,000 more or less. But you say, for example, I only pay 50 quetzales. I only pay 100 quetzales with the boy at the corner, for example. Let me say to you that software, maybe if you are working with a Microsoft Office, for example, but you only pay 100 quetzales, it is or it was a pirate software. It's not legal in Guatemala. So be careful if you are using Microsoft Office like a pirate option. Why? Because you need to pay for this software. What about the another icons? For example, I have the icon there about the, uh, let me remember about the notepad. The notepad. I don't know if you see my mouse moving here, but this icon is for identifying Notepad. What about Notepad? The Notepad is one option that you have in Microsoft Windows where you can write, when you can edit some documents without any format. I repeat, for example, Notepad is an option that you have in Microsoft Windows, maybe in Mac too, that you can work without to change any format. You only use Notepad for take note, like you do, for example, in your cell phone. But it's a word processor too. You have it free maybe, but you can work big documents in Notepad. What about the another icon? For example, this icon with the A here represents the node. Let me see. The WordPad. WordPad is the name. What is WordPad? Where can I find WordPad? You can find WordPad in the accessories of Microsoft Windows. If you don't have, for example, Microsoft Word, don't worry because you have the WordPad. And the WordPad, I remember that you can, for example, let me see here, Luma, here, yes. This icon, I hope that you can watch the I am marking here. Maybe you can watch it. Yes, you can watch. I'm talking about Word, WordPad. That's the name, WordPad. What about WordPad? A WordPad is an accessory that you can find easy. You only, if you are working in Windows, you press the Windows button in your keyboard and press and type WordPad and you find WordPad. So if you open this option, this program, this software, you will see like a little brother or Microsoft Word. It's the little brother or Microsoft Word, WordPad. It's easy, it's free. You can change the format, you can save documents, you can do a lot of things in the WordPad. So maybe someday you will have problems with Microsoft Word. Don't worry, you can work with WordPad. This option is very well because you can use it looking for in Windows accessories, where you in the same place where you can find the calculator. I don't know what else options we have. WordPad, Paint. Do you remember Paint? In there you can find the WordPad. It's easy, and maybe you can use this option when you make trouble or have trouble with Microsoft Word. So we have a lot of choices, but remember that this software, these programs that you are watching again are free software. But these another choices are you need money, you need dollars, you need quetzales to use them. But the most famous, the most famous software is Microsoft Word. So maybe in a few minutes we are working, make a practice in Microsoft Word, and you can see, for example, like this screen. I took a screen for you because I want to repass, to review, for example, some options. This is only a screen, but you can see here the ruler. You can change here the size of the paper, maybe legal, maybe leather size. You can find here the format of the documents and some functions that I am sure that you know. You use this software maybe every single day. You can find here the menu bar. You have here a lot of tools that work in Microsoft Word. You can use, for example, this arrow to select pictures. You can find any word, look for any word in the document. You can use this icon to copy and paste the format. We will see these functions, and you can change the format of the documents here. So you have a lot of options, and this is your work area. This is the work area. You can work here and edit some documents, what you want to do, and you can improve and learn some and more functions. But in a few minutes, let me see, we were working about in the practice. What can we do in a word processor is the question. We can do a lot of things, but mainly principal, we can do 5 things. Number one, type. Number two, create a document. Number three, edit a document. Store documents electronically. And principal, we can print documents. This is the main functions of the word processor. Type, create a document, edit documents, maybe you can save or store documents, and you can print the document. This is the main functions like you and me can do or can work in a word processors. So we have, like I say to you, we have some shortcuts. What about the shortcuts? What about the shortcuts? We have here maybe 10 shortcuts, and I need to read it first, and I'm going to Microsoft Word to practice. For example, control one, it set the spaces in a single space between the lines. Control 5, it works or it changes the spaces between the lines to 1.5 spaces. Control 2, for example, control 2, it changes to a double space between the lines. So you have control 1, you have control 5, and you have control 2 to change the spaces between the lines. What else? Shift F3, change the uppercase to lowercase. Maybe you need to write something in uppercase, but you don't see, you wrote it in lowercase, and you say, oh, it's a mistake. Don't worry, you can mark the text and press Shift F3. We are going to the practice. Please wait for me 1 minute. Control plus U, Control U. it's a new document in Microsoft. All these shortcuts are for Microsoft Word. What else? Control Shift C and Control Shift V. It copy the format. Please, not confuse with Control C and Control V. No, I'm talking now about the copy and paste the format, not the text, the format. We are analyzing and practicing in a few minutes. What else? More shortcuts here. Control T, center the text. Control D, align the text to the right. Control G, justify the text. F12, save as. For example, F12 is the best function when you need to save a PDF document. In Microsoft Word, you can press F12. We have Control A, open a document, Control M, change the font, and shift the arrows, mark the text if you don't have, for example, ready the mouse to work in the computer. So I need to change now and open Microsoft Word. Let me see. And I need to share with you again my screen and practice these shortcuts. Okay. I hope that in this moment you are watching that I am sharing again my screen and I am opening Microsoft Word. What can we do in Microsoft Word? I know and you know very well that we can edit documents and copy paste and do a lot of things. But now I am using with you principal the shortcuts. Please show and I explain slowly if you for you principal. So let's practice the keys. For example, I start with control 1, control 2, and control 5. I will start with this. I'm not using the mouse. I am only using now the keyboard. For example, I mark these paragraphs that I have here in this document. And if you press Control 1, you don't see very well the change. But if you press Control 2, you see that it's working very well. Control 1, Control 2. If you press Control 5, it's the middle of the space. Control 1 is close space, Control 2 is double space, and Control 5 is in the middle, 1.5 in the space. So maybe you need to do it very quickly. You can use Control 2, Control 1, or Control 5. Okay, I hope that you are watching my my shortcuts here. What else? I will practice with you Shift plus F3. Shift plus F3. What do Shift F3? You can mark this paragraph and press Shift F3. You see, no changes. Yes. You press again and you can watch the difference. It is in uppercase. If you press again, Shift F3, lowercase. If you press again, only the first letter, like capitalized, is the first letter in uppercase. In again, Shift F3, all is in uppercase. And this is repeating the cycle, repeating the process. Okay, this is the function or of Shift F3. What else shortcuts? What more else we have here? Yes, for example, the format. For example, I suppose, for example, that you have this in bold and you have this in size, for example, 20. But you need that this paragraph, these 3 lines, for example, you need in the same format. So you can press Control Shift C and Control Shift 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 V. Here, for example, you mark this, or you can only mark one letter or one word or all the line. It doesn't matter, and you press Control Shift C, or one time or two times, Control Shift C, and you can go to the paragraph that you need the same format, and you press Control Shift V, and you have the changes. For example, I can do the same here with this line. Only let me see, with one line or with one word. I mark in it's in the memory of the computer. I only need to press Control Shift V, and all is changing. For example, in a word, I only change. For example, need to change this word gráficos. So I press again Control Shift V, the change will works very well. This is the function of Control Shift C and Control Shift V. What more options do we have in Microsoft Word? For example, you need to start with a new document, so you can press Control U, and it's a new document. Control plus U. It works in Microsoft Word in Spanish. So it's not shortcuts for English. No, no, no. It's shortcuts for Microsoft Word in Spanish. You can practice in your computer. Control U. You have a new document. Easy and quickly. What else we have here? One more. Okay. We have here about the justify and center. For example, we need to center this word. You remember Control T? I know that it's noun value, but I'm reviewing. Control U. If you need to go to the right, Control D. Maybe when you need to write, for example, some date, for example, Control D, and you write Guatemala, August. I don't know, 15. What date? 15. 2021, for example, and you need to go to the right. You press, remember, let me see. Let me put the order here. You need to use Control plus D. Control D. Control plus T. And the next is Control plus J. How it works: Control D at the right, Control T at the center, and Control G at the left. Justify one paragraph. For example, you can watch here. For example, if I mark this text and I press Control G, it is justified. Justified. So I know that you practice this. Keyboards, these shortcuts, but it works very well if you don't have, for example, a mouse. Your mouse is not working and you don't know what to do in a word processor. Don't worry, because you can use the shortcuts. For example, you can mark here with the shift in the keys to the right. You are marking here slowly. If you are at the right, you can press shift and press to the left, and you are working. If you need to press down, for example, and up, you can press shift and down. And if you are down, you can press shift and up. So you need to press everything, mark everything, Control E, Control E. This is a new shortcut, Control plus E. You mark all the text, Control E. But now I am doing, let me see. Oh, yes. Control, you mark the text, all this line, and you press Control M. And you change quickly the font, for example. You mark, let me see, here, for example, I mark this text, Shift End, or if you are here, Shift Home, or the keys, it doesn't matter. Shift Home, Control M, and you can change, the font. For example, this. You can change quickly. You mark only and you press Control M. Control M. You can find your best letter there. And you say Shift F3 because I need it in. in lowercase. I don't know. You can mark Control M, and quickly you can use your arrows and find. You say it's good, it's not good, it's like to me, it don't like to me. Whatever choices you have, you can press here. A lot of things you can find with the shortcuts. At the end, you can use to, for example, I say to you F12. If you press F12, for example, F12, you can save. I hope that you are watching, that I am saving. Two options. The first option is to change the name of the file. The second change when you press F12 is that you can save in a PDF document. Not only PDF, you can use RTF without any format, XML in another versions of Microsoft Office and so forth. But you and me know that we need to work a lot of documents in PDF format. So we can do and change this pressing F12 quickly, F12, and you go to change PDF document, and you press click in save, and yes, it exists. Yes, and you have here the your document in PDF. So you make it quickly. I don't know if you saw this, but it's very easy. Okay. That's the practice. We don't have a lot of time here to follow practicing, but that's the idea from these classes. Work with you, practice, and I hope that you are understanding what I am talking to you. We are arriving at the end of the class because the time here is like my grandma said, it's gold. The time is gold. We have here 5 questions. What's the questions for you this week? Number one. Number one. A typewriter is a word processor. A typewriter is a word processor. What do you think? It's true or it's false? Always my questions. You only have two options, two choices, true or false. A typewriter is a word processor, yes or not? What do you think? Number two, Microsoft Word is free software. Please think as slowly. Microsoft Word is free software, true or false? You have the answer. Number three, using mouse is the only way to work in a word processor. Please think about it. Is the only way to work in a word processor, true or false? Number four, Control plus U is a shortcut to open a document. What do you think? Control U is a shortcut to open a document. Please, you need to practice. And F12 is the shortcut to save a PDF document. We were practicing 1 minute ago. F12 is a shortcut to save a PDF document, true or false. It's very easy for you. So we are at the end of the class, and I appreciate your attention. Thank you for to stay here with me, and it was a pleasure to share with you some practice, little practice of shortcuts in a word processor, specifically in Microsoft Word. If you have any doubt, if you have any problem with using word processors, I don't know, I am working with you some topics about informatics. So I enjoy to work with you. If you send me an email, I work and I send to you any answers what maybe you can need. So thank you very much again, and see you the next week. Thank you. Bye bye.